Hi, everybody. This is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. I have with me once again my favorite synth from Skycoin, and we're going to have a marathon conversation covering all kinds of stuff, Skycoin related, politics related, Bitcoin related, including news of a special secret Skycoin project. So do hold on to that. Please subscribe, upvote, comment, like, all that business. If you're watching this on YouTube, you could have seen this on BitTube a few days earlier, because I post my videos on BitTube first now because of YouTube censorship and the way they're messing about with the algorithm. Oh, and please follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, and join my announcement Telegram channel, Crypto Rich Official. All the links in the description below.
Steve and Dave use eTORO to trade cryptocurrencies. Steve has a watch list for promising breakout coins. Dave has a watch list too. So why is Dave just as good a trader as Steve? It's because Dave used eToro's copy trader to automatically replicate Steve's trading activity. Whenever Steve makes a trade, Dave does too. Trade like a Steve with eToro, the world's leading social trading platform.
All right. Hey, good afternoon, Synth. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
I am well, although I think I haven't been tested. I think I have a mild case of COVID. And I know I did a video about this a few days ago. I got two friends that are GPs and a cousin who's a GP, and I've consulted with them over the phone and everything, and the symptoms are consistent. But otherwise, I am well, and thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
You need to go right down to the Microsoft store right now and start coughing on them and demanding Bill Gates give you his vaccine.
No,
you need to like
no.
You need to don't leave the Microsoft store until Gates saves you.
Yes, because like I said before we started recording, Microsoft have got such a solid reputation for dealing with viruses. Mm-hmm. They're going to be really good with their antivirus programs, right? But
YouTube's AI can't tell sarcasm.
Well, I did it. That's very good, because I did a video recently, a short video about YouTube's censorious algorithm, and I actually had pictures about what could YouTube censorship be likened to, and the pictures were of book burnings.
Yeah, they're not censoring us; they're protecting our freedoms.
Oh, and our health.
Our health. They're help protecting our health.
That's right. So unless the World Health Organization say that vitamin C and vitamin D are actually good for you and could help you with dealing with COVID, then if anybody says that in a video, they're going to delete that video.
Oh yeah,
unless the World Health Organization.
Vitamin C gives you diarrhea, and you could like shit out your whole colon if you take too much of that stuff. It's like I heard 20 people died last week from vitamin C.
Yes, and also vitamin D toxicity, vitamin D toxicity. And unless the WHO say no, it's okay if you take it with lots of K2, and which, by the way, I'm not allowed to say this, so I'm not going to say that. In the absence of anything else, I am using vitamin C, megadose vitamin C, and megadose vitamin D.
Renal upper limit.
And if people are interested, there's an affiliate link in the description below. But do not tell the World Health Organization. And remember, YouTube is looking after you. So that's that.
It's the new normal. It's the new normal.
Yeah,
we have a new normal.
and we are going to be talking about I'm interested in your perspective about the whole coronavirus situation and COVID and the politics and the economics of it and what it's like in China. We'll talk about that. Then there's also, we're going to go into detail about the Skycoin development, what's happening there, including the more information about a secret Skycoin project. But I'd like to start with a look at the Bitcoin price, because we've got the halving coming up around about May 27th.
I have to do the announcement on the Skycoin stuff real quick.
Okay, let's do that.
So
then.
We launched the mainnet. So finally, after forever, the mainnet for the Skywire is out, so people can install it. We had 1,500 people. We have 1,500 nodes already online, which I think is more than Ethereum has already. But we're just migrating people this month to the mainnet, and we only had to redo it 4 times because of bugs. So yeah, yeah. So that's like a new record. So they kept delaying it for months. I told them, just stop doing stuff, just release it. And I don't want to get this out 6 months ago, but I was like, oh, we got one more bug. We have one more bug. I'm like, no. And then anyway, this was the joke in the Chinese channel. They're making fun of me because we announced it like 15 times, and the developers say, well, we got one more bug. We can't release it until we fix this bug. So it's finally out. We got 1,500 people on it. We're gonna try to get all 10,000 nodes on the mainnet, and then and then the SkyMiner. So anyway, there's just a lot of. So my and the most important thing in my life is our concrete floor. We had one of our employees held hostage by the construction workers, and they held him in the building and stole his car keys, and we had to go and take the police and get him out of there because the concrete, this. I don't know if anyone knows, we have a new office that's been under renovation for 6 months, and the concrete floor is going to be done this week finally, and then we can move into our new office and have our equipment and all the stuff. So I'm really happy about that. That's the biggest thing in my life right now is we finished the concrete floor drama, and the 6 months of renovation are over, so we can finally move in.
So the shift, the full launch of the mainnet and the launch of Sky Concrete. That's imminent.
Yeah. Yeah, mainnet is launched, and there's some news coming up on the 6th, and I said we have news on the 6th. I can't tell you what it is, but people are like, what is it? What is it? Tell us. Give us. Like, no, I can't tell you because it's actually related to legal stuff, and we'll get in trouble with the lawyers. So, okay. But on the 6th, we have a huge announcement. It's going to be in maybe like 12 or 20 Chinese media outlets, and I think it's going to be in the West under some sensational headline because it's international, world changing, first in the world ever happened, change of government policy, stuff like that. So we were in the middle of this, and this has been in process for 2 years now, and I think it's finally going to be announced on Tuesday. And I know all the media, every time I go down there, they have all the cameras and they're just waiting to put this on the media. So I think Skycoin is going to be on all the media in China, and then probably Forbes and all these are going to pick up the announcement. Fabulous. It's pretty big.
Fabulous.
But I can't say what it is because the lawyers are going to yell at me that I'm not supposed to.
Okay, I'll look out for that, and then I'll have all the links to the Skycoin website and some of the main links, because there's so many Telegram channels for Skycoin. I'm not going to link them all.
All 25 of them.
That's right. What I'd like to do, let me share my screen with you, is move on to the Bitcoin price, and then we'll come back talking about the move this out of the way, about Skycoin development in more detail later on. So this is if you can see this. This is CoinMarketCap. We got Bitcoin at
just bought by Binance. Binance just bought CoinMarketCap for 150 million in Binance coin.
Yes, Binance, the Google of crypto. 8.859. Bitcoin, Ethereum, $214, and Ripple. Oh, let's not forget about Ripple.
So not only that, they're actually Binance is back in Shanghai, and I think it's public. I think I can say this. I think CZ is back in China now, so he settled his issue. So he's back, and then they bought CoinMarketCap, and I have some news, which is the Skycoin rank is going to go up because I think 200 of these shit coins are just going to disappear soon.
Right. We'll come to Skycoin in a moment. We'll come to Skycoin in a moment, right? Yeah. And by the way, if you're watching this, I did say to Synth, not worse to this effect, that he's going to have to let me interrupt him and coral him in so we can stay focused on this, right? So Bitcoin, $8,859.61 at time of recording. And this is the chart. We have the halving coming up in a few weeks' time. Anything you want to say about the Bitcoin price? And then we'll also look at gold and then the Skycoin price.
Yeah, so I don't think it's useful. So for Bitcoin, you have to understand the macro perspective of what happened with this virus. There's 50 million people unemployed in the United States right now, and it only took 2 months to get to 50 million. I was projecting 25 million by August or September. They hit 50 million in the first 2 months, which is crazy. And in the Great Depression, it took them 2.5 years to even get to 25, 30 million. So this is actually the biggest economic depression in over 120 years that we've gone through globally. This is like the beginning of World War I, when all the global economies were collapsing and wars were breaking out. That's where we are right now economically. So people are like, what's happening with Bitcoin? And if the economy is so bad, why is the stock market going up? And it turns out that they're printing up $20 trillion to basically pump the stock market. They sold off. A lot of people sold off in January. They shut everything down. The people bought at the bottom, then the Fed came in and pumped it. So the economy right now is doing really bad. Like 10 years of economic growth was wiped out in 2 months, which is crazy. And this virus is the first phase. This is only the first phase. The second phase is coming in August and September, and then there's going to be a third phase. So the next phase. So what's going to happen with Bitcoin is, because of what I'm seeing, is they print up a lot of money, and this money, initially Bitcoin's going to go down, gold's going to go down, everything's going to go down. But once they start printing money, a lot of that money is going to end up in gold. It's going to end up in Bitcoin. And I knew that this crash was coming. I think I had an interview with you, and I told you it's going to come. But I personally was expecting, from the information I had, that Trump was going to delay it and do anything he could to delay this crash of the stock market until after the election. They don't want this type of crash to happen before the election. So he was ready to cut the rates to zero and do whatever he had to keep the stock market up. But this virus hit, and they pulled out. So this happened before the election, which is sort of a crazy situation. And what I'm seeing with Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin, after the blockchain halving, I think there's a lot of pessimism for the mining pools because a lot of them are going to shut down. There's not a lot of activity, not a lot of trading. But I think that we could see Bitcoin at 14,000 to even, and by the end of next year, 60,000. And a lot of this is not because the economy is doing well, but
14,000 by the end of this year.
What I'm saying right now, maybe, but there's a lot of contingents. There's a lot of stuff like you don't know the timing. So I know, for instance, every time Trump has destabilized Iran or Venezuela, or every time we have some riots going on and the government gets overthrown in Egypt and so on, or we have food riots, that a lot of money from these has gone into Bitcoin. So I remember 2008 financial crisis, the Bitcoin shooting through the roof. I remember when they devalued the Turkish lira and the Bitcoin price shot through the roof because they had a 50% currency collapse. And that's happening in Argentina right now. It's happening in Lebanon right now, and it's going to spread. And I remember when they did the Cyprus bailouts, what that did to Bitcoin. I remember when they shut down a lot of the money that was in London and a lot of the binary options money in Israel, when those people rushed to get their money out of Dubai and London, and the bank called them and said, you have 3 weeks to get your money out of our bank or we're going to have to freeze it. I remember how high and fast Bitcoin moved as soon as those events happened. I was in Shanghai when all the Iranians were fleeing out of all their money out of Iran into anywhere they could after Trump put the trade sanctions on them. And I was in, so I saw that, and I think that this financial crisis and what's happening is going to be the same thing all over again. And this time too, there's a lot of companies, a lot of people who are billionaires on paper. This guy has $40 billion, but he has $80 billion in debt. And he just lost 50% of his stock portfolio. And the banks are going to be calling him and saying, you got to liquidate. And he's going to be, no, no, no. And those guys are going to be forced to move any money that they can into Bitcoin because they know that they're going to get wiped out by this debt. And they want to have $1 billion or $2 billion left to take care of their family. They don't want to get liquidated. So if you're in a situation where you have 60 billion in assets, and you have 100 billion in debt, a lot of that money, and the banks are calling, and it's going to take them 2 years to drag it out in court. Those people are going to be trying to shove as much money into Bitcoin or whatever they can under their pillow, under their.
Well, I think, Synth, it is going to be in Bitcoin, and why I say that is because gold and silver physical isn't available. It's really hard to get.
Too hard to move.
Too hard to move, but
too
really
heavy.
Silver. It's difficult to hold $1 billion in. Yeah. It's difficult to hold $1 billion in gold as well, right? Physically, without counterparty risk. But gold and silver physical is really difficult to get during the lockdown. The supply chain is broken down for gold and silver. So Bitcoin's easier to get into.
So there's a lot of people they want to buy the gold because they know it's going up, but the gold ETF is actually backed by HSBC. And HSBC has a huge real estate portfolio in Hong Kong, and they leveraged up to the hilt, many of these banks, because the real estate price was going up every year, and it wasn't stopping. So they never hedged their position or thought the position could go down. And everyone just bought the real estate, and they know that in a year the price is going to double, or 2 years it's going to double, and it's been doing that for 20 years now. So HSBC had a massive amount of their income in Hong Kong. And the riots started hitting, and the instability started to scare off the real estate market, and the fear that the Chinese government was going to come in and take Hong Kong back. So that started to shake up the real estate portfolio. Then this coronavirus kills their tourism industry. It kills all the people coming in from the mainland, coming in to buy gold and go to the shopping malls and go to Macau and gamble. It just shut off everything. So since that bank has a huge exposure to Hong Kong, they're going to get hit. And also Deutsche Bank, and you can pick up any one of these banks. So every single person who's following the markets has a favorite bank that they know is in the shithole and is gonna have problems. And this guy likes shit talking Deutsche Bank, and this guy knows all the dirt on HSBC, and this guy knows all the But the reality is that they're all bad. They're all in these leveraged asset positions, and they just had 50% of their collateral shaved off. So one of the things that happens is these banks are allowed to loan money. based on collateral, and they were using their stocks as collateral.
Wow.
So what happened was 50% of the stock market valuation was knocked off. It was just incinerated. Now they have to start restricting lending. So we have a poor economy. The government wants the banks lending, but under this international treaty, this Basel III Accord, which the banks all internationally voluntarily agreed to be constrained by, they have to cut their lending based upon what their collateral base is. So if the real estate price goes down 50%, their lending limit goes down 50%. And if the stocks go down 50%, they immediately have to cut off lending. And one of the consequences of this Basel Accord is if the stock market crashes, they have to cut their lending. So that when the stock market crashes, that's when the bank should come in and allow people to refinance. It's when the bank should come in and start doing economic stimulus and should bail out the income producing companies, right, that aren't loaded up with debt. But now they're just like looking at their balance sheet and they say, oh, we have this international treaty, we have this thing we agreed to, we're not allowed to expand our lending, we have to cut off all business loans. And even loans guaranteed by the government, they're trying to exempt these COVID loans that Trump's doing from the collateral requirements because they say they're risk free, they're backed by the government. So they're trying to so this is a double whammy, which is the market crashed and then the bank credit got cut off, and that's going to cause deflation. We're in a deflate, and that's going to start forcing particular assets in their portfolio to default because they're going to be calling in debts, and people don't have money to pay the debts, but they have good cash flow. So we're in a really screwed up situation right now. This is only the first stage.
Yes, we are. It's not good. It's not good, right? So listen. Let's go back a little bit about Bitcoin, and specifically, what do you think is going to happen in the run up to the halving, and immediately after the halving with
it's
Bitcoin?
Definitely
And then
going to run
gold.
up. Then it's going to, because of the anticipation of the halving, people are selling altcoins right now to buy Bitcoin. So there's going to be a Bitcoin run up, and then Bitcoin's going to crash afterwards. But I think it's going to be at a higher level than it was before the halving. Right. And then we're going to see a gradual increase over a couple of months is what I think. But this is assuming that like Iran, basically what's happening now, I know, for instance, that there was a food shortage last year. Like the Chinese pigs got killed, were knocked out by the virus. 50% of the pigs died, and then the U.S. was the only country left with corn to export. And now Russia started exporting corn to Egypt. And now they announced that in May, they're going to hit their limit, right? And they're going to stop exporting corn. So in May, Egypt's going to run out of corn. The grain price is going to double. Riots are going to start. We see food riots in Lebanon because of the currency devaluation. We're going to see food riots everywhere. It's starting right now. And they had locusts in Africa. And there's a lot of things that are lining up right now that basically guarantee that, and if Iran starts, going crazy, right? And it gets to stabilize and the billionaires in Iran decide to move even more of their money out of gold into Bitcoin, or they need to, the price could go up. It could double overnight. Just one event, one trigger, and enough money moving in fast enough was enough to double the price before. And I think that it's the same today. Yeah, I don't. There's no difference. It's the same thing.
The thing about Iran that we haven't mentioned is the oil price, which went negative very recently, and then the frackers in the US cutting production because they got nowhere to store the oil, and all the Saudi tankers on the shores of the US waiting to come in, and then all the oil-dependent countries like Iran, like Iraq, they got no income.
A lot of what they said in the media, like they had the Saudis pull the oil, and then this virus happened, and they said, oh no, we're blah blah blah. But really, it's just the U.S. screwing Russia and Iran, and they're gonna basically everyone's rushing to buy U.S. dollars now because they had their income cut off, and they have a lot of debt, and they're looking at like, how do we pay our debt? Like we need this many U.S. dollars. So there's a liquidation going on, which is another thing causing deflation. Causing asset prices to go down because everyone's liquidating to get U.S. dollars. So before this happened, everyone was going into emerging markets. They're dumping their treasuries, and then this virus happened, and a huge, unimaginable amount of money rushed back into the U.S. dollar to pay debts. And then once they devalued the U.S. dollar, a lot of that is going to go back into assets and gold and Bitcoin, and the money's just like it's a waterfall, and the river's going this way, and then they redirect the river, and it's going that way, and it's going that way, and all the money is either going into an asset at one time or it's leaving the asset.
Yeah, it's
not sitting there; it's always moving.
Yes. So bearish on the economy, bearish on food, on life, on the quality of life. And let's have a look at the gold price.